He's 78 now, but he was young once, and one day a long time ago, he jumped up and touched the sun. It was the best day and the worst day of his life, because the world pretended that it didn't happen.
You know, it's been 17 years.
I can't believe you thinking you're.
Our paths had crossed before. I'd told his story before. This version would have a different ending, though, because as it turns out, they wronged the wrong man.
When you have a significant event, and it can be a trauma, or it can be something that's fantastic like my jump, it's always there. It's this close to your brain. It never leaves. So that jump is right there with me.
The jump. It happened a lifetime ago, May 25th, 1963, at a track meet in Modesto, California. Phil Shinnick was 20 years old, a very good long jumper for the University of Washington, but not the kind that anybody thought had a real chance at making history. And yet, there was something in the air that night.
The sun was setting, and the moon was coming up, and they were kissing each other. And there's a time at night, the zodiacal lights, when things shift, and when they shift, the air becomes full of these ionic particles that have different colors. There's a feeling.
In 2004, he told me that the quality of space and depth changed, that he absolutely knew he was going to break the record.
I looked down the runway, and it felt downhill. It felt like I was like this. Just like this, and I looked at the end of the pit and I thought, my God, I'm going to jump over the pit. I'm going to go 30 feet and I'm going to break my leg. When it's friendly, it feels like $1 million. It feels like you can jump over the moon. And that's rare. It's very rare.
In that rarefied state of heightened awareness, touched by the gods, he launched himself into space. And when he'd plummeted back to Earth, they got out their tape measures and learned that he'd jumped 2 feet farther than he had ever jumped in his life. 27 feet 4 1/4 inches, farther than anybody had ever jumped in the history of the world. It was a new world record. But there was a problem. Because nobody expected him to come remotely close to a record, they didn't bother using the anemometer to test the wind, and no record is recognized as official unless there is a wind reading.
The officials were caught off guard by this amazing performance. One of them forgot to start the wind measuring machine. So, Phil Shinnick is robbed of a world's record by incompetence.
Eyewitnesses, other athletes said the wind wasn't blowing much. Other wind readings during the meet, the weather reports, none of them indicated enough wind to be a factor. But Phil was told the rules are the rules. That was 58 long years ago. He competed in the Olympics after that, but he never approached the record again, never touched the sun again. And so Phil has been fighting the athletic establishment ever since, fighting to have the moment of his time on Earth recognized.
I've had nightmares for 50 years that almost 2 out of 5 nights I'm at the Olympic Games and I can't find the door into the stadium. And this goes on over and over again.
Appeal after appeal, letters written, hearings held, lawyers and judges, and rejections received. Year after year, rejections. And he kept fighting.
Why was it so important to you?
Because I didn't like people coming to me and saying, Phil, you're the tough luck kid. Phil, we're so sorry. What should be so sorry about breaking a world record? You know, I'm not a tough luck kid. I did something spectacular, and that shouldn't make me a tough luck kid.
He said he would outlive the heads of the athletic governing bodies and go to work on the next bunch. And that's exactly what happened. That old film you saw of Phil's record-shattering leap, back when we first met him, we tracked it down. He'd heard of it, but had never seen it.
As soon as your Como TV thing came out, I sent it to Grant Birkinshaw. He downloaded it, he took it to a group of scientists in New Zealand, and they set up a wind tunnel. they were able to calculate what the speed of the wind was, and they said it was totally legal. I think it's 2 meters per second, and it looked like about 0.5.
He used that report in his defense. Finally, this past May, the World Athletics Organization ruled in favor of Phil. And so last month, in the house that Prefontaine built at the Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon, there was a brief ceremony. Another record breaker, Mike Powell, handed Phil a plaque. Just like that, after 58 years, the fight was over.
What I say is that I'm like a warrior, an Olympian, who will pay the price to become an Olympian, break the world record, and then you have nightmares, and you have injuries, and you have pain. I say, I chose that life. I don't regret the pain that I'm under. I don't regret bad dreams. I liked what I did. That's who I am.
Those bad dreams he mentioned. A funny thing happened once his record was recognized by the powers that be. They stopped. They're dead now. Because the world finally understands that for one day at least, in Modesto, 1963, in the long jump, Phil Shinnick was the best there ever was. He's 78 now, but he was young once. And one day, a long time ago, he jumped up and touched the sun.